Got a new show on Netflix that you can get addicted to. We always talk about finding new shows. This one's awesome. I would have, I would have never known about it unless, our booker pitched Australian crocodile wrangler Matt Wright to me. And he's like, he wants to come on to promote Wild Croc Territory, which is on Netflix. So I sat down and watched it. My wife yelled at me because I couldn't get away from the television. Matt, the show is phenomenal, but on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the top, how crazy are you?
Mate, no, not crazy at all. It's Jason. Thanks for having me. Good to be here. Now, it's like any job. If you know what you're doing, you're good at it. If you don't know what you're doing, you're bad at it. So I've spent a lot of years working with wildlife. I started with deadly snakes when I was 6 years old. I was catching brown snakes, taipans, death adders, tiger snakes, and it just grew. And as I got older, the wildlife got bigger. Now we're catching 18-foot crocodiles, and I've got my wife involved.
well, Beef Cheeks was what, 15 feet, right?
Yeah. I think he's a bit over 15 foot. Yeah, he's a large croc. So what's that? About 4.5 meters.
Yeah, I think you guys said 5 on the show. Yeah, and I'm sitting here going,
yeah.
All right, guys, we need to start talking in feet. We need to start talking in pounds. Like, what are you doing?
yeah. So you're looking at, he would have been about 2,000 pounds. So
yeah,
close to a ton. He's a massive crocodile, Beef Cheeks, and so that was that's the first episode. That's the one that nearly. Oh, we can't say too much. We can't let too much out of the bag, can we?
No, it's kind of self-explanatory, but this is with crocodiles. And, here in the United States, we deal with alligators. I've spent most of my life in Florida, so I'm very familiar with gators.
Yeah.
But there's a big difference between gators and crocs.
Yeah, there is.
Right? I mean, as far as an aggression side of things, not that alligators are docile by no stretch of the imagination. They're territorial like crocodiles, but crocodiles, you get close to them, they're going to come after you.
Yeah. There's not much forgiveness in a croc. And alligators are, I think, I don't know, maybe cooler weather or something, but they're not as aggressive as what you've got. For some reason, the saltwater crocodile is it's the largest reptile on Earth, and it's not the largest reptile, but it's the largest crocodile on Earth, and it's the most aggressive. And in Northern Australia, if you end up in any of the waterways, it's there's not too much coming out of that.
Now look at that. My producer and my co-host Nate joins us from Mexico, where I don't think they have crocodiles or alligators in Mexico. Do they, Nate?
Oh no, we have crocs.
Oh, do you do?
Yeah. I know on Cozumel we do for sure.
Oh,
we were at the beach and they made us come in.
Oh, okay. There you go. We'll meet Matt Wright. You call him and his people will come and relocate the damn thing.
Yeah. Well, it looks nice where you are.
Oh yeah, it's very nice.
So watching the show, I was sitting there watching it and my wife was like, okay, honey, we got to eat dinner. We got to, I was like, no, I got to just get through this episode. That's how addicting this Wild Croc Territory is on Netflix with Matt Wright and his crew. And she asked the question, she goes, why are they doing this? Why are they, putting the cage down, and why are they wrangling this crocodile? Why are they doing all that? I mean, this is very dangerous stuff. She's like, why? And I told her, I said, because they're relocating. She goes, but why? So yeah, why do people call you?
Well, it's looking after the people and the crocs. Like, if you've got an apex predator out there and he's chewing up your cattle, your horses, your domestic livestock, and potentially going to attack a human, you've got to remove it. But instead of just shooting it and killing it, some of these animals are between 80 and 100 years old. They're Australian icon. We want to look after these guys, and we've just spent the last 40 years bringing the crocs back from 3,000 back to a stable level. So that's why we are out there now looking after the wild population of crocs. Is we don't want to see them get shot. A lot of tourism revolves around massive crocs and they're a fascinating animal. They're the last dinosaur.
So if a crocodile does take a life, uh, do you put it down, right? I mean, afterwards,
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a bit of an eye for an eye there, which is, I believe it's a bit of a small mentality to do that. But unfortunately, that's just the way that the crocodile code of practice happens. If a croc does take a human, then the humans go out. They don't just shoot one croc. They'll usually shoot about 10 crocs in that same area just to get that one.
is that something that you try to fight?
Yeah, I do, but it's hard to fight the task force with they're all trigger happy and they want to get out there and shoot shit.
that's what we do, right? That's how you had mentioned at the beginning of this conversation that you started out around all kinds of wild animals. Was your dad, your mother, your uncle, your grandfather, I mean, were they doing the same type of thing, or were you just a fan of people that did what you do now on television?
I think I watched a lot of outback shows when I was a kid. Wanted to head up north, but just had a passion for wildlife, the environment, and just the great outdoors, and loved it. And just watching the destruction of our environment now over the last sort of 20 years from when I've originally sort of started looking at it all, is devastating. It is, we're on a pretty good path of destroying every natural habitat that we have left on Earth.
Yeah, you live in what, the Northern Territory in Australia, right? And you have
Yeah.
a lot of land and a lot of different things that are going on, and trying to help out all these animals and the wildlife, so on and so forth. You're married and you have a child, and your wife was a city girl that so more importantly, like the wrangling the crocodiles, you wrangled this beautiful woman from the city and you turned her into an outdoors woman.
I know. I think she's regretting the decision now. No, she grew up a bit in the outdoors as well. She lived on a few Aboriginal communities as a kid. She loved it, but her later childhood was in the city around Perth in Western Australia, and unfortunately for me, I had to fly down there to go and sort a bit of business out, and I met her at that point in time, and convinced her that the outback of Northern Territory was a good place to live, and hitch up with the crocodile hunter.
There's got to be more to that story, because on the first, I think it was the first episode of season 1, she kind of briefly talks about how you two met, and she's like, he flew in on a helicopter and it was like love at first sight, and I'm like, I don't know about that. I mean, he's a good looking guy and he's very charming and very charismatic, but he lives, out. This is two totally different worlds. How did you woo her? What did you do?
Well, I don't know. We're back and forth for a bit. Yes, I did fly into a remote island where she was having a raft up, a big boat party with all her friends. There was about 5 boats all rafted up, all her mates playing all the tunes, and I sort of landed on the beach and styled on over. It was so badass. And I was actually there to sort out one of my business partners at the time, well, not to really pick up chicks, but I got rid of the business partner and picked up a chick.
I mean, it doesn't get any cooler than that. Crocodile Wrangler lands on beach. I'm assuming you're flying your own helicopter.
Yeah.
Comes off the helicopter, and your wife, with all due respect, is extremely attractive, and she's out there partying with her friends. I'm guessing there was probably a guy around her that was interested, or a boyfriend at the time. This dude comes off a helicopter, and she's like, "Oh."
There was a whole heap of seagulls sort of fluttering around her, I can tell you. They all got pretty disgruntled when I showed up.
It'd be intimidating too if you're the guy that likes her. It's like, oh shit, I ain't got a chance in hell now.
Yeah, no, it was all pretty sealed and dealed at that point in time, but she was going to London. That was the big breaking point, that she had a job in London. And I was like, oh, Jesus, if she goes to London, she's going to meet some bloke over in London and live there, some mundane life, and I don't know whatever you do over in London, but anyway, so I convinced her. I said, "Well, London or come try it out up here in the Northern Territory," and she did. But it's great, and we've actually just moved down to the Gold Coast. She's just about to have our second child down there, a little girl.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so she's down in the Goldie now, right on the beach. The little Banjo's learning to surf. He's doing martial arts. He's got a cool little school up in the hills he's going to. Loving life. And when I get back, I'll take him back up north and we'll go and chase a few more crocs.
How'd you come up with Banjo? I love the name, by the way.
Well, it was a bit of a toss-up because I was going to call him Tarzan. But Kaya's like, not a bloody chance are you going to call our son Tarzan. I said, like, come on, we just call him Tars for short. Like, no one needs to know he's Tarzan, just Tars or something, you know? Nah. So she made. I've got a 17, 18-foot crocodile called Tarzan, and a kid called Banjo.
Well, in one of the scenes that you go down and you have your family with you and you're going to do some fishing, and then you see some bubbles and there's a croc in the area that shouldn't be there, so you're by yourself, you don't have your crew with you. And when you do this, when you guys are watching the show, he's got all these guys with him, his crew, but your wife is very skilled in the outback. I mean, she knows how to hunt, she knows how to help you out. So you got to take but Banjo's with you and not very far from the crocodiles. Is there a safety concern at any time that the croc's gonna bite through the duct tape or go crazy or something?
No, that's that was that was a bit of an effort, catching that croc without the team.
Yeah.
But Banjo was great. He knew the dangers, and he stayed up the top, just walked along, watched what Mum and Dad were doing. Obviously, we still got our film crew and that behind the scenes, but he was great. He just sat there. It was, told Mum he had a poo in his nappy and needed to change, and it wasn't the right time. But that I remember catching that croc. Geez, that was hard work because doing it all with Kaya, but there was a bit of effort went into that one. But we've still got that croc now. I didn't. He came back to our park with us. That was our third time catching that croc over a period of about 5 years, because I kept putting him back in the main lagoon, and he kept ending up back in that sort of stretch of waterway, and I didn't realise he was in there when we were trying to get a bit of bait. But
do you tag them when you catch them?
No, the reason I knew this one was I'd caught him before. He came out of there was a croc farm nearby, and I'd recognised that croc before. He's only short, stumpy, but had a bit of his tail missing. And but there's a farm there probably 40 years ago, and a few of these crocs, quite a few I think, must have got out, and I've caught a lot of them since then. But he was one of them. And the last time I let him go, he tried to chase me back up the bank, not go into the water. And at that point, I was like, I probably should have let him go because he's a bit of a safety risk. So this time, when I realised it was the same croc, I was like, well, you know what? You're coming back to my place. Yeah,
that's crazy. Nate, you have a question for Matt?
Yeah, Matt. So with crocs, is it like other animals where, like, most of the time if you leave them alone, they're going to leave you alone, or if you're anywhere near one, you should just get the fuck away as soon as possible?
No, you're right there, Nate. A lot of times there, you'll see crocs and they'll jump in the water, they'll swim away. But if you jump in the water with a crocodile, there's not too much of a chance of you coming back out. We had an incident there quite a few years ago, and it was funny. It was a couple of local fellas swam across a well-known croc-infested river. They got across, and they saw about a 15-foot croc sitting on the bank. They then decided, instead of walking across the bridge to walk back over, decided to swim back. That was the fatal mistake. They jumped back in to swim back, and the slowest swimmer got nailed by the croc.
Wow. I had a buddy years ago that I kind of worked with. His son was at a birthday party. This is in Central Florida. They were on the lake, and his son at the time was 8, 9, something like that. And somebody screams gator, and everybody starts to get out, and he doesn't make it. And the gator got him, and it was the worst time ever. Just all of us going to the funeral, and I mean, this poor kid who's in the water. But that's, if you've been, anybody that's listening, spending any time in Florida, and I'm assuming it's very similar to Australia. I mean, you go out in the ocean, you've got great whites. You got great whites here in the United States off the ocean. You're going to still do what you're going to do and just hope for the best. You can't be, I guess, afraid. But I don't know. It just it doesn't make sense in Florida. You're swimming in lakes when you know gators are in there. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, no, it doesn't. But I think gators too show themselves a lot more prominent than a crocodile, saltwater crocodile. So I think gators sort of poke their heads up a bit and look around before they come into attack. Whereas a saltwater crocodile, they will do the same, but from a longer distance. And then once he earmarks his prey, he'll drop down under the water and then come and grab you from underneath.
Have you ever seen that? Oh, I'm sure you have, but in real life, you're out there and you're looking for a croc, and you watch the croc mark his prey and then go after it.
Yeah. I watched a couple of dingoes there one day. They chased a wallaby, a small kangaroo, down, and it was either the dingoes chasing it or jump in the water and swim across the channel. And I was just there flicking a line trying to catch a fish. And sure enough, I was like, we all had bets on. I was like, this thing's not going to make it. And I was like, no, he'll make it. And out of the blue, you didn't even see the croc. This thing just disappeared, just like, boom, just gone. And that was it. There was no other sign marking. It just went underwater and you never saw it again.
It's so powerful. I mean, when you watch it, it's really amazing. And on your show, Wild Croc Territory, when you set up these cages, you also have the trail cams, which is,
yeah.
I mean, those things have excellent. I mean, the ones you have, at least, I mean, they're like 4K, and you get to watch this croc go after the bait in the cage, and then tassel around and go. I mean, just how powerful these things are. And you talk about often, you're like, even if the jaws are duct taped shut, you can't stand on each side, because if that croc goes left or right, it's breaking your leg in half, right?
Yeah, definitely. Well, you got to understand, you've got a head that's, close to 1 meter long and probably half a meter in depth by, probably, it's solid bone. This thing weighs probably 50 kilo. And when it swings its head, it will snap your legs in half straight away, like even taped up. Like, it doesn't need its teeth. It will swing its head around, and you get to see a lot of that on the show. And Wild Croc Territory, you see the power of these animals when they're trying to bust out of traps. We had one croc there we called Houdini, and for the life of me, I could not keep him in a trap. I caught him about 3 times, and the last time we caught him, Willow wasn't there. I think he had coronavirus at the time. He couldn't come out, but we actually caught him, and I was trying to pull him out. Anyway, he hit me in the water there and knocked me on my ass into the water. Luckily, Jock had just enough time to pull his head away. Otherwise, he would have grabbed me right there and then, because I saw his head right here at me just snap as his tail flicked. His tail flicked me that way around a tree, flicked me towards him, his head, and then he came around and tried to snap me. That was, I was like, whoa, that was very close. And thank Christ Jocko was there to pull him to the side.
This is pre-filming, I'm assuming.
No, this is on the show.
Oh, this is going to be, okay, because I haven't gotten that part yet. I haven't seen that. Yeah. Oh, shit. Okay. This is good. I mean, it's not good for you, but it's good for us to watch. Who's the guy in your crew that lost the fingers? And he's like, it's okay, just as long as I don't lose an arm or a leg, but the fingers can go. Who's that guy?
Yeah, that's Jock. Yeah.
He's a hardworking guy, and he's okay with losing his finger. Were you there the day he lost his fingers?
No, I wasn't. He did that well before I knew him. So
okay. And that was from a croc.
Yeah. All right, I'm getting a vibe. It might not be from a croc. I'm getting a vibe that he just doesn't know how to use a handsaw or something. I think it was a power saw.
A power saw.
Yeah, he keeps telling everyone it was a croc.
Croc, but it was a power
I'm
saw.
like, I was like, well, you weren't working with crocs before you started working with me, so how was it a croc if you didn't know how to work with them before you started working with me? So, but it's always a good story. He comes up and he's got his little digits sort of hanging out there, and
Looking like Spock from Star Trek.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
These guys that work, I mean, they work for you, right? They work for you. For some reason, I don't know if you've seen the show Yellowstone, right, with Kevin Costner. It's on Paramount. But like, I'm looking at these guys working with you, and it's like the Australian Yellowstone. These are like wranglers that come to help you, and maybe drifters or whatnot. Or are these educated guys or long time friends? Who are?
Yeah, no, we're all good. We're all good buddies. We've known each other for years. We're all good mates, and catching crocs is just favourite pastime. Really, we just love getting out there and doing it, and having the guys that you trust and that can do it with or without you there is great.
You definitely have to trust somebody when you're catching these things. I mean,
Oh, totally.
yeah.
You have to. You couldn't do it without that.
That's why you were having some issues with your wife's brother, your brother-in-law, when he came in. You're like,
oh Finney. Yeah,
Finney. I don't know if Finney's going to.
We still have a few problems with Finney, but we'll get over that.
Finney means well. He's always smiling.
He's got the shit-eating grin on his face the whole time, doesn't he?
But you could tell how irritated you guys are with Finney, and even with the edits of the show. It's like it's the facial face cuts. You go from this side to this side. And you're like, something happened in the middle that just pissed everybody off. And you can tell.
Yeah, it's a common occurrence, and he continues to keep that trend going. I can tell you.
Poor Finney.
Poor Finney, pour me. He's my brother-in-law.
Yeah, poor you then. Nate, any more questions for Matt?
Yeah, are crocs like in the wild? You always see them hanging out on the banks together. Are they solo hunters or are they pack type of hunting?
No, they're all solo. They'll try and take down an animal themselves. Once they've had a feed, then the others will move in. Pecking order: the biggest croc gets the food first, and then the smaller ones will come in after that. But no, they are solitary animals. And you get one big apex predator, one big apex male in one area, and then he will service probably 7 to 12 females in that area, depending on what other male is around. And then they've got their little areas, and when they cross over areas, then it's like a big heavyweight match. They really go to town on each other.
Explain how this works when somebody needs a croc relocated. Is there do they call it phone numbers? Like 1-800-GET-CROC or something?
No,
and
no.
show up? And then is there payment for it? Do they pay you to do this? I'm assuming.
I used to do it for a job, like a paid job. Now it's we just swing out there and just lend a hand and remove the crocs. It's instead of going fishing, we go catch a big croc.
That's but so what do you do for a living then?
We've got a lot of businesses in the Northern Territory, and as you watch through Wild Croc Territory, you'll see the businesses that we run. A lot of it's based on tourism, and I've got my own croc park with some of the biggest crocs in the world there, where I take people and show them. I've got helicopter businesses, tourism businesses, TV businesses as well. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the back end of what outside of just chasing crocodiles around the flat.
So how did this show come about and you're able to do a deal with Netflix? I mean, did you have a relationship before?
No, so we've done a number of shows on National Geographic.
All right. So
that was called Outback Wrangler. And it's just hard to find on Nat Geo. I don't know how you find it. And moving across to Netflix give us the flexibility and the freedom to change up the concept a bit and having it more appealing to families and a different demographic rather than just serious croc hunters sort of catching out. It showcases some of the businesses, our family life, and of course catching some of the world's biggest crocs.
I think you should have a spin-off show called Wild Croc Territory Junior. and have Banjo catching small little baby crocs and lizards, because I find it fascinating to watch kids catch lizards.
Yeah,
It's very fun.
It'd be in it. You'll see on that. I think it's on the show, but you'll see him pulling on the tail of about a 14-foot python there. That was in our accommodation block.
Yeah, well, the scene where, or the part where your wife and her brother and Banjo go to one of the park, and there's a small, like, introducing him to crocodiles, and there's this baby crocodile. And that was another moment. My wife walks in the room and the damn thing's running across there. I mean, jumping. I mean, it's jumping out of the water. She's like, what the shit is that? I said, that's a crocodile. She goes, what? I said, yeah, you gotta stop doing what you're doing. You gotta watch this show. This is fantastic. It's great. You got a little bit of everything in there. So when I was doing some research on you and the show, given this opportunity, I ran across the news story, and I don't know anything about it. And if it's a sore subject, please tell me. I don't know, but I know your name was involved in the Outback Wrangler cast. That's not you, but Chris Wilson. But your name is mentioned in the story about the helicopter crash.
Yeah, so Willow, just after we finished filming, and that's where Willow was out with a few of the other boys on another job, and died in a helicopter accident. And it is definitely it is a big sore point for us, our family, our friends. You know, I've watched Willow grow up over the last 20 years, and he's been, passionate about catching crocs and living a pretty wild adventure. And we were in business together for a while in a big earth moving company. I got out of it. He stayed in it. He had his family, and he left behind his wife and a couple of kids. It's tough, but we're working through it. And it's just one of those things. Unfortunately, we deal in these machines every day of our life, and you don't sort of expect the unexpected.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to hear about that. And I saw the story and I saw your name mentioned, and I was trying to put it together. And I guess there's charges and there's got people involved, but it was like there's been a court order not to talk to you from the people that are involved. I was like, this is a thing.
So there's a bit of chat about that, and it was because we were first on scene. It was we had to cover his body and load him into the flight, into the rescue chopper and stuff. So, the police are investigating. It's ongoing investigation. It's, it'll take its course over time, and the cops will get what they want to get, and we'll move on. But yeah, it's a bit shitty because it's hard to grieve Willow when the cops are trying to do an investigation at the same time, and there's you don't get a rest on the family, don't get a rest because he was a public figure, and as soon as something like this happens, that's all they want to sort of harp on that his on his profile and obviously mine as well.
So what's the I don't understand what the investigation would be for. I mean, it was an accident.
Yeah, that's right, and we don't understand that either. So we're just working with him now. A lot of it because there was a copper there. He didn't probably do exactly what cops were meant to do, and it was in the middle of the bush. Other cops weren't there, so they're trying to work out what was going on.
How does that work in Australia when you're, in the outback, in the bush, and wherever, in the middle of nowhere? The police presence, is there? Do they have, carte blanche over everything, or how does that work?
I'm not sure. It's all that side of things still new to me. We're learning a lot through this.
Yeah.
And what you can do and what you can't do on an accident site. And unfortunately, probably some of the stuff that we did at the site wasn't in protocol to what the police would have wanted us to do, and that's what they're looking into.
So where do you go from here with this show is obviously, well, in my opinion, it's going to be very successful on Netflix. So you continue to obviously record seasons, but with shows like this and a guy like you and a crew like you got, there's just so much material there. I mean, when you do one of these shows, the first thing that a lot of these production companies ask for is like, all right, what's the character building? Who's who? What's what? And you've got all those pieces with charisma that everybody possesses. So is there other plans for different shows down the road?
Yeah, yeah, totally. Like the show's based around Kaya and myself and our family, and the croc side of things and the catching's just the team that we work with at the time, uh, and Willow was definitely a larger than life character and brought a lot of life to the show. So it's definitely dearly going to be dearly missed, and it was hard to come to terms when the show was coming out and Willow's not there to enjoy the
Yeah.
what we had created.
Mhm.
So now, yeah, we'll move on and we'll make another show and make in remembrance of Willow.
Yeah. I thought it was absolutely amazing. I've never seen this before when you're taking your guests out that are visiting your park on an airboat and you go and you see the croc that is missing like half of its jaw.
Bone Crusher.
Yeah, Bone Crusher.
Yeah,
And croc is 20 plus yards away from you, sees you, comes right up to you like a dog
yeah, yeah,
and almost says, "Hey, I missed you, Matt."
yeah.
That's
Oh,
amazing to see that.
yeah, it was, and he'd been with us for 10 years. Unfortunately, only a week ago or 2 weeks ago, he was killed by another croc, which was absolutely devastating because everyone loved Bone Cruncher. He was, like you said, he was like a dog. I could jump in the water with him. I could work with him. He'd come up. He'd hang out. Nothing was too hard for him. But another croc moved into his territory and killed him only a couple of weeks ago.
How often do crocs act like that?
Oh, every year.
No. I mean, as far as how Bone Cruncher.
Oh, Bone Cruncher, they don't. You don't see that ever.
Yeah.
So it was quite unique to have that crocodile, and he was a favourite for the guests coming out. We've got a lot of other crocodiles there, but nothing like what Bone Cruncher was.
You can't train a croc like you could train a dog, right?
No. They got a very small brain, and they only focus on one thing, and that's food.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why, like, when you see these different parks, in Florida, they've got gator land, and it's all about, throwing the chickens up in the air and the alligators jumping in the air and catching the chickens. Like,
yeah, that's right.
God, they're trained to jump in the air and get the chicken.
No, that's just what they do.
That's what they do, right?
Yeah. It's not like teaching a dog to catch a frisbee or something.
Before we let you go, Nate, any more questions for Matt?
Yeah, how do crocs have sex? Do they do like doggy style, or they go belly to belly?
They go croc style.
Croc style, mate, in the water.
Yeah.
A bit of a belly dance, a little bit of ballerina.
Then do they do the croc roll, right?
That's it. Yep. They'll wrap each other's tail around, and old mate was fucking slip his stalk around the side, and in he goes.
Yeah, that's a dumb question, Nate. You know damn well you've got bookmarked websites for this kind of stuff.
Well, I know the holes on the bottom, so I figured they couldn't jump on the back unless they're real long.
Yeah.
I didn't.
No, you see them going toe to toe, especially this time of the year. They're getting it on.
I didn't know you had crocs in Mexico. I know that, like, very, very rarely there'll be some, somebody will say they'll see one in Florida or this and this and that for whatever reason, but I didn't know Mexico had. I mean, I never thought about it, I guess, but
yeah, like I said, in Cozumel, I know they have them for sure. And then, like, a couple months ago, there was one on the beach in Cancun.
Yeah. There's a few crocs get around that country.
Do people call you from other countries to come and take care of their croc problem?
Yeah. I've been Congo and South Africa, Borneo, Asia. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, so you're the guy. Like, if I have a croc problem.
Yeah.
It's
good. It's good fun to travel and set up a new challenge.
Has the brand Crocs tried to endorse you?
Oh, I haven't heard from them, and yeah, that's interesting. I've heard from every other brand, but not them.
That's so stupid. Oh my God. Like, you've got a successful show on Netflix. You are the leading crocodile wrangler, and the brand Croc has not reached out to you to wear them on the show.
Willow was the big croc wearer. He used to get around in his Crocs every day.
Yeah, or Izod, to have you wear it. Well, that's an alligator, but still, either way. All right. Wild Croc Territory. It is currently streaming on Netflix. He is Matt Wright, and it is a fantastic show. And it's fun for the fans to watch the Crocs and fight and bite and do all this stuff. But the message, Matt, overall is that you want to show people that they're animals. They deserve to live. You relocate them. You do it with care, and to try to look at these animals in a different way than how they've been portrayed for numerous years, right?
Oh, totally. Well, it's not just the crocodiles. Crocodiles just one animal that we work with. It's the whole box and dice, the world that we live in now, the habitat that we're destroying daily. The consumption that the human race is doing. It's just trying to slow people down and just say, hey, enjoy what we have. There's no race to the end of the world.
No, that's a great message too, and you see that in the show. I mean, you're eating your own food that you kill. The wife goes out, kills some geese, you cook it up, and it's delicious.
Yeah, I might get frowned on in Central Park here if I knock off a squirrel and start roasting it in the park.
Man, I mean, you can Paul Hogan the situation, and he was in New York, right? I mean, that's what you got to do. You got to blend in and do your thing as an Australian guy.
Yeah. Roasting a squirrel on a spit roast probably isn't so much blending in.
Yeah, you gotta find a bad guy, knock him out with a can of whatever, like he did in the movie, and then pull out this is a knife. That line. This is a knife.
Yeah, you'll see me on the front page getting locked up. NYPD.
All right, Matt Wright, thank you so much for the time. I know you got a very busy media schedule, and I appreciate you spending the time with us. Best of luck to the show again, Wild Croc Territory on Netflix. We'll talk to you soon, hopefully. All right.
Thanks, Jace. Thanks, Nate. Yep, look forward to it. Let's definitely catch up again. Good chat.
Please. Thank you. Take care, Matt. Bye-bye.
See you guys. Bye.
Bye, Matt. Thanks.
Yeah.